Adrian Newey is about to walk away from an entire Formula One season. Not next year. Now. Because after just 3 races, 0 points, a broken engine, and a car he himself can't fully use, the most successful designer in F1 history is already considering abandoning the project completely. And here's what makes this unbelievable. Honda's own CEO confirmed the problem. Vibrations so extreme they destroy batteries, damage performance, even risk the driver's hands. No clear fix. No immediate solution. Which means this isn't a setback. It's a collapse. And while everyone else is trying to survive the season, Newey is thinking something much bigger. Sacrifice everything now? To win everything later. Because if this decision is real, Aston Martin isn't trying to save 2026. They're already writing it off. And that changes everything. Because the real question is no longer how bad the situation is. It's whether Newey just made the boldest call Formula One has seen in years. At first, it didn't look like a decision. It looked like a disaster. Because everything about this project was built to succeed. The best designer in Formula One history. One of the most successful engine manufacturers of the modern era. A world champion driver known for extracting performance no one else can see. Unlimited resources. State-of-the-art facilities. On paper, this wasn't just a competitive team. It was supposed to be unstoppable. But reality hit immediately. And it hit hard. The moment the car touched the track, something was wrong. Not small issues. Not typical preseason problems. Fundamental failures. The engine didn't just lack performance. It behaved unpredictably. Violently. Vibrations running through the entire car, strong enough to damage the battery system, and even affect the drivers physically. And that's where everything starts to break. Because in Formula One, you can fix performance. You can fix aerodynamics. You can fix setup. But when the foundation is unstable, nothing else works. And that's exactly the situation Newey walked into. A car he designed? That depends on precision. On stability. On a perfectly controlled mechanical platform. But instead, he got the opposite. An engine that introduces chaos into the system. And that creates a deeper problem. Because this isn't just about losing speed. It's about losing correlation. The wind tunnel says one thing. The track does another. The data stops making sense. And once that happens, development becomes guesswork. And guesswork, in Formula One, is how you lose an entire season. But here's where the story takes a turn. Because most teams, in this situation, they double down. They push harder. They try to fix everything at once. But Newey didn't do that. He stepped back. And that's the detail that changes everything. Because stepping back in Formula One, at this level, is not hesitation. It's calculation. Because Newey understood something before anyone else admitted it. This wasn't a problem you solve in weeks. Or even months. The engine issue, the vibrations, the structural limitations, they are all connected. And fixing them means going deeper. Redesigning core components. Changing the architecture. And that takes time the season doesn't have. Which leads to the first real question inside the team. Not how do we fix this, but should we even try? Because every hour spent trying to save this engine is an hour not spent building the next one. Every resource used now is a resource lost for the future. And that's where Honda's confirmation becomes critical. Because when the CEO admits there is no immediate solution, that changes the entire strategy. It turns a technical problem into a strategic decision. And suddenly, what looked like a fight to recover performance becomes something else entirely. A choice. Continue investing in a broken concept, or walk away early and start again. And that's the moment where Newey's role becomes even more important. Because he's not just designing a car anymore. He's shaping the direction of the entire project. Short term, or long term. Survival, or reset. And that decision is already happening behind closed doors. Because the biggest moves in Formula One are never announced when they begin. They start quietly. With questions. With doubts. With internal conversations no one sees. Until suddenly, the outcome becomes impossible to hide. And right now, all the signs point in one direction. This isn't just a bad start. It's the beginning of a decision that could sacrifice an entire season to build something much bigger. And this is where the decision stops being theoretical and becomes brutal. Because once you even consider abandoning a season, you're no longer just solving problems. You're choosing what to sacrifice. And in this case, what's on the table is massive. Drivers, reputation, momentum. Because think about what it actually means to walk away from a project like this. Fernando Alonso, still performing at the highest level. driving a car that he knows cannot compete, a car limited not by talent, but by a problem no one can fix in time. And that creates tension. Not publicly, not yet, but internally. It's there. Because drivers don't race for the future. They race now. And when the team shifts focus away from the present, that balance becomes fragile. But the pressure doesn't stop with the drivers. It goes straight to Honda. Because this isn't just a technical issue anymore. It's a reputation crisis. A manufacturer that returned to Formula One to win, now facing the possibility of effectively giving up on an entire season. And that's something no brand wants attached to its name. But here's the key detail. Honda doesn't fully understand the problem. They know what is happening. The vibrations, the damage, the instability. But they don't fully understand why it's happening. And that changes everything. Because in Formula One, if you don't understand the root cause, you can't guarantee a solution. You can only experiment. And experiments take time. Time the season doesn't have. Which makes Newey's position even clearer. Because he's not just looking at performance. He's looking at probability. What are the chances this engine becomes competitive in time? What are the chances the fix introduces new problems? What are the chances the entire concept is fundamentally wrong? And if those answers are uncertain, then the decision becomes logical. Not emotional. Not reactive. Strategic. Because Formula One is not just about building the fastest car. It's about choosing where to invest your future. And right now, the future is not in this engine. It's in the next one. Which is why that April revelation changes everything. The possibility of shifting full focus to the next generation power unit, not as a backup plan, but as the main objective. And that's the moment where this story becomes bigger than Aston Martin. Because if a team with this level of investment, this level of talent, this level of ambition, decides to abandon a season early, it sends a message to the entire grid. Sometimes, the smartest move is not to fight a losing battle, but to stop fighting before it costs you even more. And that idea is dangerous. Because if it works, if Aston Martin comes back stronger, then this won't be seen as failure. It will be seen as vision. But if it doesn't, if the next project also struggles, then this decision becomes something else entirely. A turning point. The moment where everything started to go wrong. Which leads to the real tension behind all of this. Not whether the current car can be fixed, but whether Newey is right. Because if he is, then what looks like surrender today is actually the beginning of something much bigger. And if he's not, then Aston Martin may have just given up on the one thing Formula One never gives you back: time. And now, everything leads to the final consequence. Because decisions like this, they don't just affect one season. They define entire eras. If Newey commits to this path, if Aston Martin truly shifts focus away from the present, then what we're watching right now is not a failed campaign. It's a transition. A controlled collapse. Designed to build something far more powerful. But that comes at a cost. Because while they prepare for the future, the rest of the grid keeps moving. Ferrari keeps developing. Red Bull keeps refining. Mercedes keeps evolving. And Formula One doesn't wait. It never has. So every race Aston Martin sacrifices is a race their rivals use to get stronger. More data. More upgrades. More understanding. Which means when Aston Martin finally returns, they won't just be facing the same competition. They'll be facing better versions of it. And that's the risk. Because resetting only works if your next step is big enough. Not better. Significantly better. A clear leap forward. And that's where Newey's reputation becomes central. Because he's done this before. He's walked into projects, changed directions, built dominant cars from nothing. But never like this. Never with an engine situation this unstable. Never with a full season potentially written off before it even begins. And never with this level of expectation. Because this isn't just another team. This is one of the most expensive projects in Formula One history. And when you invest that much, you don't expect patience. You expect results. Which brings everything to one final point. Because this decision, if confirmed, is not about giving up. It's about timing. Newey understands something most people don't. In Formula One, being early is just as important as being fast. And right now, he believes the real opportunity is not in fixing what's broken, but in arriving first with what comes next. The next engine. The next concept. The next version of Aston Martin. And if he's right, then everything we're seeing now, the struggles, the failures, the frustration, it's all part of a bigger plan. A necessary sacrifice. But if he's wrong, if the next project doesn't deliver, if the same problems return, Then this moment becomes something else entirely. The moment Aston Martin chose the future and lost the present for nothing. So in the end, this isn't just about Newey or Honda or one decision. It's about a gamble. The biggest gamble in Formula One right now. Walking away from today to try and control tomorrow. And the only thing that will decide if it was genius or a mistake is what happens when that future finally arrives. And here's the final twist, the part no one says out loud. Because this decision, it doesn't just change Aston Martin. It changes how Formula One is played. If Newey is right, if walking away from an entire season leads to dominance later, then every team on the grid learns the same lesson. You don't have to fight every battle. You just have to win the right one. And that idea is dangerous, because it breaks the unwritten rule of Formula One. That you fight every race, no matter what. But now, there's another option. Calculate, sacrifice, reset, and come back stronger. And if Aston Martin proves that works, then this won't be remembered as a failure. It will be remembered as the moment the sport changed. But here's what makes this so tense. We don't know yet. Right now, it looks like collapse. A car that can't perform. An engine that can't be fixed in time. A season that's slipping away race by race. But beneath that, there's something else building. Time, development, focus, all redirected toward a future no one has seen yet. And that's what makes this story impossible to ignore. Because while everyone is watching the results, the real story is happening underneath. In the factory, in the design room, in decisions that won't show their impact until much later. Which means everything we've seen so far is only the beginning. Because the true answer to this entire situation will not come this season. It will come when that next car arrives. When that new engine runs for the first time. When all the sacrifices either make sense or fall apart completely. And in that moment, everything will be clear. Newey will either be proven right, or this will go down as one of the biggest miscalculations in Formula One history. But until then, every race, every result, every struggle we see on track is just a reminder of one thing. Aston Martin is no longer racing for today. They're racing for something much bigger. And the outcome of that decision is still waiting to be revealed.